Welcome back to the Contendings of Horus and Seth. Last time we met the tribunal of gods who could not decide if the throne was to be given to Horus or Seth. We also saw the lengths that Seth would go to intimidate and deceive to gain support. Today on the Ancient Egyptian, we discover the great challenges that Seth laid down to Horus and how both gods engaged in divine homosexuality. We pick up where we left off last time. Isis has deceived Nemti and crossed to the island housing the Ennead. The text continues. Once she was across, she quickly sought out Seth. Seth looked and saw her when she had come closer from afar. Then she conjured by means of her magic, transforming herself into a maiden whose body was beautiful and whose like did not exist in the entire land. Thereupon he desired her most lecherously. Seth got up from sitting and eating bread with the great Ennead and proceeded to overtake her, no one having seen her except himself. Then he stood behind a sycamore tree and called to her. He said to her, "I am here with you, beautiful maiden." And she said to him, "Reflect, my great lord. As for me, I was a wife with a cattleman to whom I bore a son. My husband died, and the lad started tending his father's cattle, but then a stranger came and settled in my stable. He said thus, in speaking to my son, 'I shall beat you and confiscate your father's cattle, and evict you,' said he in speaking to him. 'Now it is my desire to have you afford him protection.' Thereupon Seth said to her, 'Is it while the son of a male is still living that the cattle are to be given to a stranger?' And so Isis transformed herself into a kite, and flew up and perched on top of an acacia tree. She called to Seth and said to him, 'Be ashamed of yourself, it is your own mouth that has said it. It is your own cleverness that has judged you. What comeback do you have now?' After this, Seth complained to Ra about what had happened. But Ra has said back to him that Seth had judged himself and had admitted his crimes. He admitted that he was the stranger who took the cattle. He admitted he was the stranger that beat the son of the father. But Isis's actions did not go unpunished. Another, however, would face a cruel fate. Then Nemti, the ferryman, was brought before the Ennead, and the forepart of his feet removed. So Nemti abjured gold even to this day in the presence of the great Ennead, saying, 'Gold shall be because of me an abomination unto my city.' By now, even Ra and Atum were getting fed up of this dispute. Atum went so far as writing a letter proclaiming Horus as Pharaoh. But again, Seth would not accept, claiming as Horus's elder brother he should inherit the crown first. This lie, despite being known by Isis, Thoth and Ra, he was still sticking to. His protest was enough, however, for Ra to relent. Now came the first of two challenges from Seth to Horus. Thereupon Seth said to Horus, "Come, let's both transform ourselves into hippopotamuses and submerge in the deep waters in the midst of the sea. Now as for the one who shall emerge within the span of 3 whole months, the office should not be awarded him." This was a pretty serious challenge, and Isis, fearing Horus would lose, fashioned a harpoon out of copper. But her first throw to upset Seth actually hit Horus. Her second attempt hit Seth. His reaction was telling. "What have I done against you, my sister Isis? Appeal to your copper barb to let go of me. I am your maternal brother, Isis." Then she felt exceedingly compassionate towards him. Thereupon Seth called to her, "Do you prefer the stranger to your maternal brother, Seth?" In the throes of pain, he spoke the truth, identifying his actual family relation to Isis, but still maintaining the stranger lie. But by now the lies were becoming more powerful and convincing more gods. Remarkably, Isis withdrew her harpoon. What Horus did next was nothing short of extreme. Horus, son of Isis, became furious at his mother and went out with his face as fierce as an upper Egyptian panther's, Having his cleaver of 16 Deben weight in his hand, he removed the head of his mother, Isis, put it into his arms, and ascended the mountain. The rest of Isis's body would become a stone statue, and on finding it, Ra called the Ennead to hunt Horus for what he had done. Seth found him first, and gouged out his eyes, and buried them. Later on, Hathor found Horus alone, weeping in the desert, and using the milk of a gazelle, she restored his eyes. Later, Horus and Seth were both summoned before the Ennead, with Artem commanding them to stop quarrelling. And by this time, Isis had had her head reattached by Thoth, just in case you were wondering. Both Horus and Seth obeyed, and suspiciously, in Seth's case, enthusiastically invites Horus to his house. Horus accepts. The text continues. Now afterwards, at evening time, bed was prepared for them, and they both lay down, but during the night, Seth caused his phallus to become stiff and inserted it between Horus's thighs. So here we have an explicit homosexual reference, with Seth possibly being one of literature's first bisexual characters. What we do know is Seth had a method here which we will come back to a bit later, but for now, note, he was the one penetrating Horus. More generally, homosexual relationships, particularly male same-sex relationships, were a part of life in ancient Egypt as they are now. The tomb of Khnum-Hotep and Nianch-Khnum contain murals of two men in a traditional marriage pose with inscriptions saying, joined in life, joined in death. But of course there were those who disapproved, with a passage in the Book of the Dead listing having lain with men as a negative confession. Now back to the story. The next morning, Horus went to his mother Isis and showed her semen that had come from Seth. Then maybe, as a retaliation for her decapitation, she cut off Horus's hands. Then in what I can only describe as incest, Isis extracted some semen from Horus, in the only place you can. But for all this, Isis had a plan. Isis at morning time went carrying the semen of Horus to the garden of Seth, and said to Seth's gardener, "What sort of vegetable is it that Seth eats here in your company?" So the gardener told her, "He doesn't eat any vegetables here in my company, except lettuce." And Isis added the semen of Horus onto it. Seth returned according to his daily habit, and ate the lettuce, which he regularly ate. Thereupon he became pregnant with the semen of Horus. If that's not a red flag for eating your greens, I don't know what is. Unaware of Isis's plot, Seth confidently invited Horus back to the tribunal. Seth then announced, "I have performed the labour of a male against him," claiming he should be awarded the throne. The Ennead, in reaction, spat at Horus's face, maybe history's first example of homophobia. What was important here was the display of power. Being on top per se, or being the one to penetrate, was seen as one of the lovers asserting dominance over the other. What Seth had done was effectively humiliate and subdue his rival. But the Ennead, including Seth, were all deceived. Horus had in fact not let Seth do the dirty on him, instead using his hands to capture Seth's semen. This prompted a test from Thoth, for whomever the semen of the other was inside would lose the throne. Seth would fail the test. Isis's plan to plant Horus's semen inside him had worked. But Seth, once again refusing the verdict, then issued his second challenge. And so Seth took a great oath by the god as follows: "He shall not be awarded this office until he has been dismissed outside with me, and we build for ourselves some stone ships and race each other. Now as for the one who shall prevail over his rival, he is to be awarded the office of ruler." Then Horus built for himself a boat of pine, plastered it over with gypsum, and launched it into the water at evening time without anybody who was in the entire land having observed it. Seth saw Horus's boat and thought it was made of stone, and he went to the mountain, cut off the mountain top, and built for himself a boat of stone of 138 cubits. They embarked upon their ships in the presence of the Ennead. Then Seth's boat sank in the water, so Seth transformed himself into a hippopotamus and scuttled Horus's boat. Horus took to his copper harpoon and hurled it in the direction of Seth. Then the Ennead told him, "Don't throw the harpoon." So what had happened here was that Horus, in effect, cheated, and Seth was made to look quite foolish. But when violence was about to break out, the Ennead ordered them to stop. but this was enough for the Ennead. Events now had a domino effect. Horus proclaimed his victories, and each god in the chain agreed. Horus should have the crown. Seth, meanwhile, was chained in manacles, finally relenting after a last contending on the island. He would reside afterwards with Ra and become the thunder in the sky. Horus, meanwhile, was installed as Pharaoh. After 80 years, it was the cause for a great celebration. Ra said, "You shall jubilate from one land to the next for Horus, son of Isis." Isis said, "Horus has arisen as ruler, the Ennead is in festivity, and heaven is in joy." They donned wreaths when they saw Horus, son of Isis, arisen as a great ruler of Egypt. As for the Ennead, their hearts were satisfied, and the entire land was in exultation when they saw Horus, son of Isis, assign the office of his father Osiris, lord of Busiris. Thus, it concludes successfully in Thebes, the place of truth. And there you have it, one of the most graphic stories you will hear, featuring some of the worst of human behaviour and imagination. But it is also a reflection of the knife edge on which all of the ancient Egyptian civilization rested. The battle between order, represented by Horus, and chaos, represented by Seth, manifested itself in many different ways. But it was only imbalance, like how the story concluded, that allowed ancient Egypt to prosper. Now I turn it over to you. What other tales have you heard about Horus and Seth? Has this story changed how you view the gods of ancient Egypt? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video and supporting the channel. Please hit like, drop a comment, and ring that notification bell so you never miss a future episode.